I feel like all like these movies, on some level, they're like ashamed of the characters. They're like, oh, we can't show you Superman like wearing red underpants on the outside. That's too
Mm,
silly. Like, we can't do
yeah,
that. Like, we can't show you Jimmy Olsen. That's too silly. Well, like, then why are you fucking making these movies then? If it's too silly, like that's what it is.
yeah,
It's like what you were saying before. Like these things are
yeah,
inherently silly. Like
yeah,
Batman is silly. It's a guy dressed up as a bat punching a clown. Like it's like you
yeah.
can't escape it. Like I think, I really like the Christopher Nolan movies.
I
I
was
really
just gonna
like
say
them.
it's his fault.
No, I mean, I really like them. I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm just saying you lose something when it has to be so real. Like because they're not real. Like
Don't really
Superman
love
will
those
never
movies
be
that much.
realistic.
Yeah.
I do like them. I like them a lot. I'm just saying, like, like there's a Batman villain called Clayface,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
Clayface could never be in a Christopher Nolan movie. He's like a cartoon, or like Mr. Freeze. Like you could never see Mr. Freeze in the same universe as like, you know, the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale Batman. It's like too sci-fi, too cartoony. Like, but that's part of the DNA of Batman. So I don't
Right.
know. I would like to see them go like more Silver Age, like more
They never
surreal.
will. In my opinion, they never
Yeah,
will
I
because
don't
it's
know.
just, I mean, how do you feel about like the Suicide Squad and like James Gunn like taking over and all that stuff? Like,
Uh,
I'll be honest, I did watch the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie
I haven't
and
seen that.
I I actually did kind of enjoy it.
Okay.
Um, but it still suffers from the same like fatigue that a lot of Marvel movies suffer from, in my opinion. And like it's also just like tonal balancing. Like I think like when something happens, like the one-liners and stuff, like I can't truly remember off the top of my head if there are any major ones in Guardians of the Galaxy, but like I think that's the major problem with superhero movies that I have is that like there's like this revulsion to like being earnest. Like it's always has to like poke fun at itself.
Right. It's
And
like
there
too
was there was this
self-aware, too
yeah, there was this
self-conscious.
what you said earlier about like being ashamed of the source material was
Right.
interesting because in Into the Spider-Verse, there's this one Peter Parker Spider-Man that's like featured in it a little bit. It's like the one with like the red hoodie and like the cut
Scarlet
off like
Spider.
arm. Okay, yeah, Scarlet Spider.
The one who is like he's like kind of like a teal
Yes,
hoodie.
he's like making fun of himself. Like the way that they wrote the dialogue was very like if you don't respect the character, you don't respect the creators who made it, like why are you like putting it in there? Like it felt very like
Hmm.
um yeah, just I guess disrespectful. Like who made those characters? I'm not really familiar with them. Like
Right.
who was
I
the
think
writer?
off the top of my head, I feel like Scarlet Spider is probably like Tom DeFalco. Am I right? I'm just gonna check really quick. People could hear me tippy typing, probably,
Well,
but
I feel like if I was the creator of that character and I saw the character show up in this movie in that way, I would be a little bit like disappointed.
yeah.
Like you can approach making this character funny from a different angle. It felt like the way that they were doing it, it felt kind of disrespectful.
All right, I
Um,
hear you. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't say. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to even say like with these kind of characters that are like derivative characters, it's hard to say because like Scarlet Spider is like a clone of Spider-Man, literally a clone. So I think maybe you could probably say Peter David created him. I don't even fucking know, man. I don't know. It's hard. I'm like looking at the Wikipedia which is not great for created by Jerry. Oh, okay, that's not right. It says created by Jerry Conway, but like that's not right because like um
because it was
this was
actually Jack Kirby.
well, no, it's just like there's it's like I have to get into deep Spider-Man lore to explain this, but
Okay, maybe.
basically in the 70s there was a story where Spider-Man's Peter Parker's college professor like cloned him and then he was like fighting a clone of himself, right? And then this is in the 70s, the 1970s. And
Okay.
at the end of the story, like the clone got killed and so Spider-Man is just like, oh, there's just like a clone of me. I better just like dispose of his body in this like smokestack, basically. He tried to like burn up the body in a smokestack. And then
Oh,
that's the last you hear of it, right? Until like the 1990s when they had this thing, and that's the story that and the one I just mentioned was written by Jerry Conway. Okay, so that's why they're saying Jerry Conway created him. However,
oh,
in the 1990s, they brought that clone back and said, like, well, actually, he was not burned up in that smokestack and he just continued to live his life. And I'm saying, like, okay, Jerry Conway did not create Scarlet Spider, which didn't you see what I'm saying? Like, through
right. He created like
retcon,
right
right? Through
the original
retcon, he
character
created
that the
him, but
character came from. I see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't even know, man. It might be Peter David who and you know who created the character design by Tom Lyle, it says for Scarlet Spider. So
Okay.
I don't even fucking know, man. I'm not sure. I think you could probably I said Tom DeFalco earlier. That's who I thought it was. But
Maybe, yeah. All I
um
know is that if I was the creator and I like saw that, I would be a little bit like, oh, that
yeah,
sucks.
just like am I a joke to you, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I
And it's
love
like
that
they could,
character too. So
if they wanted it to be like funny and like sort of like poke fun at like the edginess of the character, they should have just they could have done it in a way better way, in my opinion. Honestly, a lot of the humor was just like sopping wet in that movie, and it was like really bad. Like,
so much of this
um,
though is like literally like this is like a movie for like 12-year-olds. So like would a
it
12
is
year
and it
old think it's
isn't.
funny?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I guess it depends. Like, do you think a 12-year-old would know who Banksy is?
Almost certainly not, I think, right? I
Then,
mean,
yeah, then like no.
yeah. It's like I get what you mean though. It's like it's half for kids and half for adults with like little winks and nods to
Yeah, like,
adults.
is it for kids or is it for adults? You know what I mean? Like, you gotta. It's all ages, right? That's the whole point.
Right. Right. They don't want it to be just for one. Then you lose a
Exactly.
lot of money that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if it's me, I'm just gonna make like if it's me, I think forget about all this multiverse stuff and just make a Spider-Man movie just about Spider-Man.
But
And I
they've already done it and they were good.
sort
Like
of. I mean,
the Tobey Maguire ones I thought were pretty good.
oh, I love them. I love Spider-Man 1 and 2. I really love. Like
They've
I think
made so many. They've
yeah,
made
but
so many Spider-Man movies.
yeah, but you look at like the Tom Holland ones, right? And they're largely they involve like Tony Stark to like such a high degree. Like
I
it's
haven't seen any of them.
all right, fair enough. But it's like Tony Stark is like kind of like his like father figure in these movies, and
Hmm.
so much of it revolves around Iron Man. And it's kind of the problem that I'm talking about is like just make a Spider-Man movie. Like I don't care
Yeah,
like I mean I care about Iron Man, but not in the context of a Spider-Man movie. Like
I don't.
I mean I care
Yeah,
just like I care about any superhero character, but I'm just saying like um I if I go to see a Spider-Man movie, I don't really want to see Iron Man or care. Like I guess they have to do that because it's like Iron Man now has become like an A-list superstar character where like when I was 12, nobody cared about Iron Man. Like
right.
it's wild how he has become like an A-list character where like Iron Man historically was like a D-list character or C-list.
Yeah.
Like, but
I mean, thanks, Robert Downey Jr.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. Like I I think it kind of speaks to like, the success of Marvel movies. It's like they made Iron Man like a beloved character. Like they made Thor like a beloved character. Like, Thor traditionally is not a superstar character. Like the hit characters of Marvel is like Spider-Man, X-Men, the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like even the Avengers was not really like a top tier book. It's like X-Men is like the top superhero team book. Now, if you look at these Marvel movies, the X-Men don't even exist. Like they haven't even,
Mm.
because they haven't owned the rights to them until only recently.
I
So
actually really like the X-Men, but
I
the thing
love
is,
them.
it's
Yeah.
just like everything is just so much. Like it's especially with like like Disney Plus, it's like you have to watch like it's like a whole fucking checklist of media that you have to fucking consume to understand what the fuck they're talking about in these movies. And it's like, no, I don't want to fucking sit down and watch like every fucking mini series on Disney Plus so that I can understand what you're referencing or what fucking silly character you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
there were
agree with you. Like, it's funny to look back. Like, I have like a very clear memory of when I was like 12 and I went to the mall, probably with my mom, I imagine. And like I'm in like the video store and I'm like asking, like, oh, is there like a Spider-Man movie? I may have been even younger than 12. And I was like
mhm,
trying to find like a Spider-Man movie. And ultimately the guy was like, yeah, that doesn't exist. Like there is no Spider-Man movie. Now it's like there's so much comic book stuff that like I used to see every comic book thing like that existed. Now there's
yeah.
so many that like I'm way like there's no way I could see everything and nor would I want to. There's
Yeah,
like
you'd have to have like a fucking IV drip
yeah, it'd have to
and
be your whole
like
life
sit.
just to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like kind of like this weird thing where like over the course of my life, like uh I always knew, even as a little kid, I'm like, what do you mean there's no Spider-Man movie? Like I didn't
Mm,
understand as a kid. And then a couple of years later, like probably 2 or 3 years later, okay, now Tobey Maguire Spider-Man comes out when I'm like 13, and it's like the biggest movie. I think at the time it like broke all records,
I
box
thought it was
office records.
fantastic. I thought
I
I
love
loved
it.
it
I
when
mean, I love it to this day. Like I loved it at the
I
time. Like
I just rewatched it recently.
it's so good.
Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane is so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Also, like I rewatched the first two X-Men movies and like they're pretty good. Like
They
I
are
enjoyed
really
them.
good. I mean,
Bryan Singer is like horrible,
yeah,
horrible person,
yeah.
but
I mean, I have been thinking about like the first X-Men movie recently.
mhm,
Movie opens. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You've seen it recently, so you could tell me if I'm like misremembering. But like
right.
movie opens and it's the fucking Holocaust. Like it's like what I'm saying?
Yes,
It's like
yes.
literally the Holocaust in World War II Germany. And it's like I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying like the movie like had fucking balls of steel. It was like,
Right.
and I've been meaning to tweet this recently, but like I don't want to tweet it until I've like got what I want to say uh right or whatever. But like I really feel that X-Men is the most political like comic book superhero franchise. And
Sure.
you gotta hand it to that first X-Men movie was literally like, okay, we're gonna make a bathroom bill. Like it's like, what I'm saying? Like
Yes, yes,
it's like
yes.
we're gonna pass a bill in
Well,
Congress that says mutants can go fuck themselves. Like it's like, it's like that's
I think
happening
that's a
today
huge
practically.
yeah. I mean, I think that's a huge reason why X-Men is so popular because with like queer communities because this shit, it's been going on for fucking decades and it's still going on and people really relate to that and relate to I don't know, I guess the persecution of the characters.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I think the start of X-Men like yeah, I guess what other movies like other Marvel movies like now like wouldn't do that. Like they wouldn't
yes.
start with like a Holocaust scene. Everything would be
Yes.
very like
Right.
sanitized and watered down. And the kind of thing is like, when I was in middle school, when I was young, like I learned about the Holocaust. Like it's important for not saying this is like a cultural fucking milestone, but like I think there's something to be said about like putting it in a movie that is all ages or for kids. That's
Yeah.
like, yeah, cool.
It's important, I
Because
think,
it is.
even.
It is important to preserve the fucking memory of that,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think,
even if it's done in a fucking X-Men movie.
yeah, I mean, it's maybe the most important in something like that. I'm trying to, you probably could hear me typing a little bit, but I just want to look up, like, when did it come out? Okay, it came out in 2000, I think. Trying
Something
to,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, for released in 2000. So I was 12 years old, just giving away how old I am or whatever. So, like, I'm Jewish. So, like, that's fucking, like, to me, it's like, imagine you're a 12-year-old Jewish kid and, like, you
Hmm.
go to this fucking movie and it's like, it's just, it hits you in the feelings, like, or
Yeah.
like, this mother is being separated from her child and is like screaming, you know, and
Yeah.
crying and like this fucking, it, it's uh I don't know. I don't want to overstate like the importance of it, but it is like, Bryan Singer, obviously, allegedly sex criminal,
Yeah.
bad guy, allegedly bad guy. I have to say allegedly after everything, before
I
everything.
guess you have to. I'm not.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I assume he's probably guilty of the crimes or whatever. But I've alleged, opinion. This whole podcast is satire. But you know, um, you got to hand it to him. That is the real shit right there. Just be like, okay, X-Men movie, opening titles, boom, Holocaust. Like, holy shit.
Well,
Like,
I also think it sets the tone for like Magneto as a character,
yeah,
and I don't know if what his origin in the comics were, but
I think that was
I'm
added later, but
okay.
in my mind is a foundational aspect of the Magneto character, like in my
Well, I
opinion.
I guess because I was introduced to the character like in the movie, like in the 2000, like I
Right.
think it's a cool way to sort of establish him and
Yeah,
like
I agree. I mean,
him being aware of like what is going on
yeah.
and like how groups of people can be targeted and I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
it's
he is a great character. Like, he's a great character. I mean, there's a big part of me. I'm like, even as I'm talking to you, I'm like, yeah, fucking Magneto. Like, yeah, fuck you.
yeah,
Like, like Magneto. Like, he's right. No, he's not right. He's a fucking terrorist. But you know what I'm
he's
saying? Like,
kind of right.
he's kind of right. I mean, there's a. Did I send you that picture from New X-Men or like I did, right? Where
Mm-mm.
there's a
Oh,
character
maybe.
who wears like the Magneto was right shirt. And
Yes.
I gotta get one of those when I start streaming, I think. I think that's or like to go to a Comic-Con or something. But there's plenty of people who would see that and be like, oh, look at this guy. He's like, wearing the most cliche shirt of all time, but also fuck those people, so I don't care. But yeah, yeah, I mean I really think it's like that is a superhero movie that like has, it's saying the real shit that matters. Like, and so I don't know. All this stuff, like you said, is silly and like
Right.
really should it be aspiring to have such a profound impact? I don't know, but
Well, I think the thing is like
I think
you
with the
can have
X-Men,
both.
sorry.
you can have both. Like you can
Yeah,
have something that's silly and still has like a strong like moral core, but like a serious like moral center doesn't have to like everything doesn't have to be edgy and dark and like you know what I mean? Like you can have lightheartedness, you can have fun, and you can have lightheartedness and fun without like making fun of like the earnestness of what you're trying to do. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like
I
having
mean,
stupid one-liners and
I
asides,
could
like
I
that
could
just
remember
cheapens everything.
there's still some stuff to be fair in that X-Men movie where they're having a little bit of that. Like there's a famous line where like they get dressed up in, their crazy Matrix style like
Yeah,
leather
their
outfit.
leather suits. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Wolverine is like, "What the hell is this? Like what are we wearing? Like why do I have to wear
hmm
this?" And
Yeah.
Cyclops is like, "What? Do you prefer yellow spandex?" So it's a
hmm
little bit of what you're talking about there. It's like,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's all there's all of these movies are sort of like built on each other, right? So it's like there is a ribbing of it, but like that,
it wasn't too much.
yeah.
It's just a little bit of like, oh, there is also a pretty funny line where like Wolverine is being introduced to all the characters and he's talking
hmm
to Professor X. And Professor X is like, "Oh, this guy here is Cyclops. Like, I'm Professor X." Like, and Wolverine is like, "Oh, Cyclops. Oh, okay, great. What do they call you? Wheels?" I think he says. Which I don't know if that would. By the way, I don't know if that would fly today. It was
No.
a little bit
Yeah,
ableist, I think. But
probably not. I mean, obviously they're not perfect movies, but um yeah, like the sort of DNA and that sort of like making fun of the source material, I guess, sort of
it
starts
wasn't
there. I
that.
mean,
It wasn't like that egregious though. Like I
but
get what
it's
you're
definitely
saying. Like
exists, but it definitely exists. Like, and that was one of the first, like, I think that was one of the first superhero movies that really,
it
like,
was, yeah. I mean, the only thing that really it was one of the first. I mean, you have to give credit to Blade. Came out
right.
before and
I
was
rewatched that recently as well.
that that's I love Blade. Like that's really good. I think. I mean, you tell me,
I,
but
I mean, I don't really remember like loving all of it, but like the intro is really cool. The like last
yes,
fight sequence is kind of like not good.
I love it. I don't
Um,
care. I love it. I love the part where I even love the part where he separates his top half. What's his name? Deacon Frost. He separates his top half from his bottom half, and then the fucking globules of like CGI blood pulls it
oh
back
yeah, that
together.
part
I love it.
looks so
I
horrible.
I love it though. I don't care. I love it. Uh, and by the way, Deacon Frost, I think is up there as like one of the best like comic book movie villains. Like he's just so cool. Like you can't deny it. He's so cool. You know? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong,
uh,
but
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but
I love him. I think he's cool. He's cool, man. You know?
yeah,
He's cool. He's like, oh, you fucking old vampires. I don't know. Something about him. He's just so cool to me. But Deacon Frost is cool. Even his name, Deacon Frost. That's like a man who was born to be a vampire,
that's true.
you know? It's like his
hmm
parents thought he was going to be a vampire when he was born.
Yeah, nerd parents.
Also, Blade 2 is really good. Did you say you watched that recently or just Blade?
Just the first one, and by recently I mean like maybe like 2 years ago.
Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha.
My friend Brian was like, "We have to watch this. It's really good." And I was
I
like,
think it's good. I
"I
think
don't
it
think
is
it's
really good.
bad. I definitely don't think it's bad, but like,
Your friend
I
Brian,
guess yes.
Brian Singer?
No, I'm
Oh,
not
okay. Okay.
associated with Brian Benjamin. Hi, Brian. He's probably not going to listen to this.
Don't listen to this,
Um,
Brian.
um, but yeah, I guess just superhero movies in general like are not my favorite.
Yeah, I hear
Like,
you.
there's I guess elements of them that's like there's a nostalgia to them. Like rewatching Spider-Man, I actually think that one is pretty good.
It's really good.
Um, it still holds up like on most
It
fronts.
definitely does.
And I haven't watched the second one, but I'm sure that one is the same.
Have you seen it at all?
Yeah, I mean, when it
Okay.
first came
Yeah,
out,
I got
I
you.
watched it,
Many years
but I
ago. Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
like, yeah, I haven't revisited it or anything. But I feel like they
Spider-Man
have a
2. So I was just going to say, this is a non-controversial opinion, I think, for people listening, but Spider-Man 2 is probably up there still to this day is like one of the best of any of these movies, any of these superhero
yeah.
movies.
I definitely would believe that. I think that there's a charm about those movies that I just don't find in the new ones at all.
Hmm.
Um, and
It's
maybe it's
in,
because like I'm not like the age I was when I was introduced to them, you know what I
right.
mean? So it's just like the magic is
But
really
you're
lost on me.
rewatching it
But
now and you're
yeah, that's true. That's true.
it's like it was a crazy time because it's like all those movies were like, it was like the Wild West to a certain degree because it's like Spider-Man comes out and it's like today we just take for granted that these movies are big business and like they're huge hits. But like at the time, it's like, I don't know, Spider-Man, like, yeah, we're gonna invest a lot of money and see what happens. But it was not guaranteed that it was going to be such a mega hit. I said this before. I think Spider-Man at the time was the biggest box office movie of all time when it came out. I'm trying to look it up, but
That's pretty impressive if it's true.
I'm pretty sure it was number one. I'm wasting everyone's time by trying to look it up, but
You can edit out the silence.
that's true. I'm not gonna do that.
Oh,
Uh yeah, I mean, and not just like, oh, is it gonna be successful, but like show like a CGI Spider-Man swinging around. We just take for granted now, like, oh yeah, you could do that. Like that was like breaking new ground in like 2002 when this came out.
yeah,
That was like we don't fucking know if it's going to be possible, but like it was every one of these movies was like innovating in special effects. It was like we're doing things in every single one that's never been done before. Like I just
right.
happened to be watching some clips from Hulk, which I feel is like a really underrated like superhero movie, like directed by Ang Lee. Like I think it's like really good, but like at the time it was like kind of a little bit of a flop and like um it has kind of like a bad legacy, but in my opinion like people are kind of starting to come around to the idea of like wait, it was actually really good. But if you go and watch that movie, if you see clips from it, it's like making like an animated CGI Hulk in like, I don't even know when it came out, 2003, maybe. That was not just like
Mhm.
an easy proposition. Today, it's just like because of yeah, 2003, because of movies like Hulk, because of them like kind of blazing the trail, like now they know how to do it. But it's like they were inventing it then. Like,
Right.
um, it, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think. Like I'm looking at it now, it's like box office for Hulk was 245 million, but um and that was considered bad. Like that was a failure.
Yeah.
That
Dang.
was no sequel, that was bad. But
That's really interesting because I feel like he's one of the more compelling characters, like in terms of just themes, you know what I mean? Like
in terms of what?
the internal themes, like the
Oh, themes.
struggle of like what is like the self, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't given him another shot. But also
62
like I
million
just
opening weekend was just like crazy to me. Like that's so bad. Like for that. I mean, it
it
says it's
sounds so
this.
good.
I mean, it's this. It says it's the 16th highest ever opener at the time. So
Hmm.
like, uh, it still did very well. Like, um, I'm just saying it's crazy how you could do so well, but still in
Be
their
considered
minds,
bad.
yeah, it's not a. They want to do about double that. Like they don't want. Um, but I agree with you though that like Hulk is like a really good character. I've had this idea for a while that like I think you could do a really interesting Hulk story where it's like, what if you did the Hulk as like as like an addiction? Like, what if you had like Bruce Banner going to like AA meetings to be like, what if Bruce Banner like likes being the Hulk? What if it's like
Yeah,
almost like a
it's
narcotic like thrill for him, and it's like it's like an addiction. Like it's like just like you could argue like anger is like to get angry like on some level like feels good, like that's very relatable like to
oh for
everybody.
sure.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I think
Like
so.
there's
Yeah,
some
definitely.
level where like when you get angry and like someone has it in your mind, I'm not saying this is right, but like someone has it coming, you know what I mean? It's like righteous anger. Like it's like it feels good on some level. And I think you could do like a great story where it's like, I don't know, the Hulk as an addiction, and like he can't help himself. Like it's like he understands I shouldn't turn into the Hulk, but I just fucking like can't help myself. Like I
Sure.
like it. Like I like being the Hulk. Like I want to smash shit. Like you know what I'm saying? Like even as like
Yeah,
normal people, like we could understand that idea. Like,
I think a
you
lot of
know,
people could relate to the idea of like not bottling up anger and just like releasing it like whenever they feel like it. Because I think a lot of people bottle up emotions in general, and like anger is like one of the easiest to, I think, release. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to get angry, and a lot of people feel
yeah.
comfortable expressing that.
It's probably easier to be angry than to be like vulnerable and I don't know, express other emotions that as an American, I don't have the ability to articulate to you.
I think like yeah, well, I definitely think that I have the most, not like me personally, but like most experience with like anger being directed towards me. Um, but I have a question.
Sure.
Um, do you like, you're a comic writer? Is your like end
Nominally, yes.
goal is your end goal to like write, you know what I mean? Is it a part of your career goals to write some of these characters, or is it sort of just like a non-factor to you?
I mean, you know, this is probably going to be all Patreon paywalled. So I should have said this earlier. I meant to say this, but like, um, excuse me. I know I was saying some stuff that's like critical of Marvel and Stan Lee, but like, you know,
Yeah, you've already
to
shot your
answer,
chances in
well, I mean,
the
no, nobody at Marvel knows who I am or gives a fuck. Like they don't, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have anything to worry about there. But uh, I love these companies. That's what I'm trying to like. I love not. I don't love these companies. Like I love the characters. I love like the universe. You know, it used to be like when I was a kid. Like yeah, it was like my life's mission to like write Spider-Man. Like have you ever watched Mad Men?
Yes, not like fully, but I've watched a good amount of
Okay.
it.
Well, I mean, this is a little bit of a spoiler to people who haven't heard it, but there's this whole idea like in the last season of like they're trying to tempt Don Draper with like working on Coca-Cola. And like for me, it's kind of like that a little bit that like I very much like, you could almost say desperately would love to work on Hulk or Spider-Man or Batman or Superman or, pretty much any of these characters that you could name, pretty much any of them, like I have had a period where I was like deeply obsessed with them. So including the Hulk, including, like I said, pretty much like, like I was talking about the Flash before, characters that are not necessarily even what you would consider like the core superstars. Like I love Green Lantern, for instance, and I consider Green Lantern to be like a Star Wars level franchise. Like I really do. So, or have the potential to be a Star Wars level franchise. So like I would, even though I've said some stuff here that's like critical of Marvel, like,
Sure.
just to make it clear, like, I would probably cut off my hand to like, do like a Spider-Man comic, like in the same way that it's like for Don Draper, like, working on Coca-Cola is like a little bit of the dream. Like it's like, you know, it's like these big ideas that you get to play around with. And I don't know. I mean, it's, honestly is doubtful that it'll ever even happen for me. And there is an element where it's like, I want to own, the things that I create. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Or at least
Yeah.
co-own it with like the artist, you know?
Yes.
So if I work on Spider-Man, I could do the best Spider-Man story of all time, and I will own zero of it, and then they'll make a
Yeah.
movie out of it and make $1 billion. And
Yeah.
that's tough. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's just tough. Like I think I would have to be doing well enough, like through my own um creator owned projects that like I didn't
Right.
care. Like it's like I don't want to work on Spider-Man because I'm gonna make a lot of money. Like I want to
Right.
work on Spider-Man because it's like deeply emotionally important to me. Like, like I was just
Right.
saying about the Hulk, like, you could imagine doing that kind of story that I was talking about. And it's like, I don't want to do it because they're going to pay me, a truckload of money. Like
Right.
that having been said, I also don't want to like, be destitute like, either. So I don't know. I mean,
No, that's bad.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a serious thing that I have to worry about in the like if I'm working on a Marvel comic book in the next 5 years, like something has gone very right. Like uh, you know, I don't know that that's going to happen, but to answer your
You never
question,
know.
like, yeah, I would love it, obviously, but I want to do crazy shit though. So I don't know if they would ever let me,
Yeah.
like I was just talking about, like treating the Hulk as an addiction. Like, I don't know if Marvel makes those kind of comics anymore. Like, I don't know if they would want to do that, you know?
Sure.
Um,
I haven't read like nearly enough to say one way or the other, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not really reading like everything they're putting out these days either. So for all I know, I could be way off the mark, but I just don't think like that's a fairly controversial thing to like compare the Hulk being the Hulk to like alcoholism, like I don't think that they wanted, I could be wrong, but like that's an example of something that like I don't think I would be allowed to do. So
mm,
then it becomes like, what am I allowed to do? Just what they tell me to do. So it's like, I don't know if I would want to do it under those circumstances. Like, I'm going to want to
sure.
do, no matter what I do, I'm going to want to do crazy shit, like weird shit, like probably controversial shit. So,
Hmm.
because it's just my nature. Like, I can't even help myself. So, I don't know. It depends what kind of, you look back like, um, when I was younger, like Grant Morrison doing these books or whatever, like at Marvel, like X-Men, for instance, like he got away with doing like really like controversial and like you could say like politically relevant stuff. I don't know, like you're saying, I'm not reading everything they're putting out, but I feel that it's a little bit more controlled now that these things have become such big money that it's no longer just Marvel. It's like Disney that owns Marvel. And now you need to, now the Hulk is like
A
the
household
Hulk.
name.
Sorry.
Like he's like a household name and stuff.
Yeah. The Hulk was always a household name, but I just mean it's if you watch the Hulk in these modern Marvel movies, he's I don't know how you put it. It's like a friendly face. You know what I'm saying? Like Bruce Banner,
Yeah.
it's like Mark Ruffalo. Like it's like, he's hanging out with She-Hulk and like it's the Hulk is fucked up. Like he's not like a friendly character. Like even Bruce Banner, I'm saying. He's not like you wouldn't want to hang out with Bruce Banner. Like you do want to hang out with like Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner. Like he seems like a cool guy who's like he's making jokes and he's charismatic. Like I don't think Bruce Banner would be charismatic. I think he would be like fucked up. I saw someone. I feel bad that I'm not going to remember who said this, but someone on Twitter was saying like Charlie Day, like
Hmm.
from It's Always Sunny, like should play Bruce Banner. I think that would be a good idea. Like you need like a weird little guy who is like deeply neurotic and like fucked up. Like Mark Ruffalo is like, you know, a cool guy, like cool dad, is the vibe, you know.
Yeah.
You need
Hmm.
like a guy who is like looks like he's had, too many cups of coffee and like, looks weird and like you wouldn't want to hang out with him, like, in my opinion. But like I think in the Ultimates, they had like a throwaway line that was saying like Steve Buscemi should play Bruce Banner. But I think that is probably more in line. But
That would probably be good.
anyways, man, am I keeping you too long? What do you think?
Mm, I don't know. What do you think? Do you have anything
I'll
else to
go as
talk
long
about?
as you let me. You know what I mean? I'll stay here. I'll be here for 8 hours if that's what it
Okay.
takes.
I mean, what else should we discuss?
Yeah, I mean, I feel I haven't really like I've been ranting and raving too much. I feel like I haven't like talked to you that much. Like like
Okay.
so you weren't like a big comics guy. Like what were your like kind of like art influences? Like were you drawing like from a really young
Mm,
age and stuff?
yes, I was. Um, so I'm the youngest, and my brother was like a really good artist, is a really good artist.
Oh,
So he was drawing a lot, so I was, I guess, sort of like, um, just wanted some of that like attention, so I started drawing, um, when I was younger. Um, and then I didn't really do it a whole lot, not super seriously. Um, I was a lot of, I had a lot of interest in film and like movies and stuff. And I was always listening to music. I think I'd
like
listen to
what kind of
music
movies?
and um all sorts of stuff. I mean, I watched
Ang
a lot
Lee
of horror movies.
Hulk. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I watched a lot of horror movies when I was younger.
Right, yeah.
We
Like I'm not like
lived
a
near
horror guy at all. Like what are the big ones you'd say? Like I know like very little about that.
the big ones like that I
Yeah.
watched, like my
Yeah,
favorites.
that you watch like
Well, I watched The Exorcist when I was like way too young. I
huh.
watched the like made for TV series It, like Stephen King's It.
Oh yeah, yeah. That scared me
That
when I was a little
fucked
kid.
me up.
Yeah, that's too
Yes,
scary. That scared me when I
that
was a
scared
kid.
the hell out of me.
So scary.
Um I watched like Alien. I mean, we
Yes.
would go through, we lived right near a Blockbuster, and my family had the like movie pass thing. So like during the summers, we would literally go to Blockbuster like 3 or 4 times a day and just like watch like everything in the horror section. Like good horror, really awful horror, all of that. And then I started getting more serious about art, I guess maybe in like seventh grade. But I was more interested in writing at first. I had a really good writing teacher who um, I sort of like got a lot of inspiration from. Um, and then was taking art classes. I think maybe like once a week, maybe in like sixth, seventh, eighth, and then maybe in high school I was taking art classes. My brother went to this really um, small like South Jersey like art school that was like 50 a month and was taking classes there. But I didn't really like think it was that like it was sort of just like a pastime. Like I wasn't like super like serious or dedicated to it until like after I graduated high school because I didn't really consider it like a career option. I was just kind of like, well, I don't really want to be a starving artist. I don't really want to like struggle to pay bills and all that stuff. But then I went to community college and sort of didn't love any of that. Um, I was going for like graphic design, which is like
Hmm.
fine, but not really for me. Um, so after like a couple years at community college, decided to I decided to go to the Kubert school, which is like
Hmm.
not um
We could do a whole podcast just talking about that. I mean, that's
yeah.
the Kubert
Well,
School, for people who don't know, is like the comic book college, basically, right?
yeah, it has a very good reputation. Um I found my experience to be kind of um hit and miss. Um I actually don't really like I don't like talking about the fact that I went there.
Hmm.
Um because like I did learn a lot, but I also like don't want to be like free advertisement for it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I found I had a lot of problems with a lot of aspects of the school. And I think that like anyone who has the desire to like be a comic artist, you can learn everything by doing it yourself. Like it's not
Hmm.
going there. For me, it was like I went there, I was shelling out all of this money, so that was like a motivator for me, you know what
Hmm.
I mean? And I'm a competitive person, so like if you put me in a school with other artists, like I'm gonna try to be the
Destroy them.
best. Yes, in a
No, I'm just
way.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I wanted to be the best, you know. Like I'm always been a competitive person,
No, I hear you. I
even in
respect
something
that.
like that. So yeah, but like I wouldn't ever recommend anybody else go there. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Um, it was sort of like,
So what would you
yeah, I
say
mean,
people do? If I'm, let's say I'm a young kid, I'm 18 and I want to become like a comic book artist. You're saying don't go to is it Kubert school? How do you pronounce it? I always feel like I pronounce it
Hubert,
wrong.
yeah, the
Kubert,
Hubert
yeah,
school.
like you're
I
saying don't
mean,
go to Kubert, write hate mail to Kubert. No, I'm kidding. You're saying what should I do? Like I'm just like
I mean,
let's
if you want
act
to
it
be a
out
comic
here.
book artist,
Yeah, I want to be a comic book artist. Like you're saying don't go to Kubert. So what should I do instead of that?
I mean, I would say if your parents have been saving a lot of fucking money, I had to take out like federal loans to go
Hmm.
there. So
Don't do
if
that,
your
you're
parents
saying.
don't take out loans to go to any fucking school,
Yeah.
but I don't know, you can learn like I think a lot of it is just comes to like the dedication. Like for me, like what kept me motivated and focused was the fact like, oh shit, I'm spending so much money here. Like I have
Right.
to like make this work. Like I have to
Right.
do this. But I found a lot of the education was pretty outdated. Like especially like um in certain courses. Like it was just sort of like a relic in a way.
Hmm.
And a lot
I
of the
imagine too,
administration,
like I think maybe you've mentioned this before. Excuse me, I'm clearing my throat a lot, but I think maybe you've mentioned before, like a lot of it is like, okay, you need to, email editor. Like it was like had more of like a older idea of how you get work. Like
yeah,
now
yes.
today it could just be like draw a picture of Spider-Man, post it on Twitter, and like that could get you work. Like they
I
didn't
think
really
that like there wasn't any sort of emphasis on like that aspect. Like a lot of
right.
these people were very like
There should be like
old
multiple
school
classes
mentality.
about that. Like,
Yeah, it just
right.
felt lacking. You know what I mean? Like maybe like in the early 2000s or in the 90s, like it was a little bit more like on the
Right.
pulse.
Yeah. Like I imagine they probably told you okay, you need to have a portfolio. You go to a Comic-Con and then you
Yes.
you stand in line for portfolio review, and then a
Yep.
guy tells you you're not good enough, and then you say, okay, thank you, sir, and you and
Yeah,
you
and then you
leave.
come back next year. Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And it's just not really I don't like to like I learned a lot just by nature of like being around other people, and there were some really good instructors like in terms of like basic drawing and like trying to like uh, trying to advance your storytelling like techniques and ideals and all this stuff. But like I think that that's something that you can get from many other places, and
Hmm,
it wasn't like the way I think the school marketed itself a little bit like disingenuous,
hmm,
like almost like going there it was like a guarantee that you were going to get like work afterwards.
hmm.
And
I imagine like
maybe
some of the instructors there are probably like people who have worked at these companies too. So there's like an
oh yeah,
aspect of like, yeah,
most of
yeah,
them
yeah,
are
yeah.
um but like that just wasn't really the case, and they had marketed themselves as
Right,
having like a 90% like placement like
right.
rate,
That
post
that can't,
graduation.
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I don't want
no.
to, listen, everything, this is a satire parody allegedly podcast.
No, this
So,
is
but that
true.
can't be true. I mean,
This
that can't
part's
be
true.
true. No, I'm just saying it can't
Um,
be true that 90%,
well,
like how could
here's
that
why I
possibly be true?
think they advertised it as being true is because they had this like post graduation like job thing, but it was literally like one of the instructors, and like, this is more than I guess a lot of instructors do, like at colleges, like once you graduate, but still, it was just like passing along like Craigslist job offers, and so many of them were like
Hmm.
just weird. You know what I mean? Like not like low pay. You're meeting with these weird people, or like, the offers are just like terrible.
What do you mean like
So like
weird? Like what kind of thing? Like,
just like I mean, you've been to a comic convention, right?
yes, yes. I get what you're saying. There's like a
there's
kitschy
there's just
aspect
like
to it.
there's yes, but
Seediness.
yes. Like I've tabled at cons before, and people will like come up and be like, "Oh my God, like I have this amazing story. It's gonna change the world." And you're just
Right.
like, "Okay, you know, that kind of stuff." And it's
Yeah.
just like I've been working pretty consistently, like doing like pitches and stuff like since I was graduating. And I worked on a couple of graphic novels for this company that I had problems with.
Hmm.
Um, but I
It's
think when
just
it
like,
comes to this school, it was like if you took a Craigslist job, that counts. You know what I mean? You got a
right.
job.
Yeah. When
So
they
it's
say
like,
90%, you're thinking Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image.
right,
Like you're thinking
right,
like,
something consistent,
right.
something like
They're
meaningful.
saying
No,
like, oh, weird,
weird
weird
one-eyed
minor
Bill.
company that sprouted up from nowhere, like,
Yeah.
and has money to spend. Like,
And they were connected to like so many weird, like there was this company that I'm pretty sure a lot of students worked with and they never got paid. And they just sent like a bunch of copies of the comics, and that was like their payment. And I was like, it's so strange to me that you're like this professional school in this industry, and you're like linking your students up
right.
with these people who are
You
not
don't pay
paying
people
them.
in comps. Like you pay people in
Yes.
money. Like,
Yes. It
yeah.
was just weird. There was lots of like little things like that that like rubbed me the wrong way. And it was like, you guys realize I'm paying you to be here, right? Like
Hmm.
you don't get to treat me like
Right.
I'm a child, like I'm paying to be here.
Right. Like you're lucky to be there. Like, what are the,
Yeah.
what is the like acceptance rate like there? Like,
Oh,
do they
they'll
just
take
let everybody? They'll take anybody.
yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. I mean, it's interesting.
It's
Like,
it's a business first and
right.
foremost. That was sort of my takeaway from the school. Like there's instructors there who have a lot of knowledge and are willing to like pass it on, but it's a business first and foremost. And I remember, excuse me, I have to clear my throat. I'm just gonna mute myself. There was this one instructor I remember saying, like, I'll teach you guys some stuff, but I'm keeping some stuff to myself because like you're my competition. And it was just like such a strange, it just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I was just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm not even gonna fucking bother picking your brain if that's how you feel. Cause it's just like, why am I paying for you to like hold out? You know what I mean?
Hmm. They're like
Lots of,
holding back information, you think?
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Because
that's
they
what he
feel
said.
like, oh, what did he say? I'm sorry. What am I?
It was, it was
Did I
like,
miss something?
I teach you guys like some stuff, but like I gotta like keep some like tricks.
Right.
Like this is a
He
paraphrase,
basically
but
is
like
saying like he's saying like
I'm not telling you
I'm in
everything.
competition with you
Yes.
and I'm not supposed to just tell you like you want like
Yeah,
we're at
like
war. I'm supposed to just
I
tell
gotta
you
keep a
my
leg
secrets.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay. I mean, like,
Then give me my money back.
yeah. It's just, stuff like that. So I don't like to be free advertising for the school and like
that is a
tell people
weird that is a weird element
it's
there
super
that it's
weird.
like your teachers think of themselves as kind of like monetary competitors with you, at least in the
Yeah.
future. So in the near
Yeah.
future. So like that is like I don't have any experience with that in terms of like, going to college. There's no idea that like my teachers are gonna like, be competing with me in the marketplace or whatever.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
no sense of that.
I mean, I guess I didn't really like think too much about it because I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like when I get out, but also like you were established and like we're
Yeah,
gonna
am
be
I
doing
really a
different
threat to
things.
you? Like,
Yeah, like it was just fucking weird to me and I
yeah.
didn't like it. And there were tons of like little things like that like yeah, just really made me look at the school in a negative light. And like that's not to say that I did not learn a lot while I was there, but the pros and cons, like I don't think I could like recommend the school to anyone. You know what I mean?
So what would you say? Like I was saying before, like what would you say someone do? Like it's just like watch YouTube videos, like you know what I mean?
I
Like
mean,
like
yeah,
read
like you
books,
there's
like
tons of artists out there who put so much information out into the internet that you can learn from. You know what I mean? You don't have to pay a fucking dime. And like read comics, like make your own comics, like you just have to, it's really about doing it. Like you don't know shit until you start actually making them and like trying to find your own way of storytelling.
hmm.
And for me, I think like that's sort of the fun of it. Like, how are you interpreting this story? How are you telling the story? And like, you can't, I guess I've always approached it a little bit differently because like I've never really had a major like desire to work with Marvel or DC. I don't give a fuck about their properties. Like they're toys to me. They're fun toys. Like if one day they were like, "Hey, do you want to write a story or illustrate a story with these characters?" I'd be like, "Yeah, because I like your toys." You know what I mean? But like I'm not trying to be like second fiddle to a character to an intellectual
Right,
property. Like I'm trying to
right,
like be an artist and be a storyteller and make a name for myself. And
right.
I don't think that it's possible to
Spider-Man will always be a bigger name than you.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. People say like, "Oh, I loved this story," but if you ask people who read comics, like who aren't major diehard fans, like they love this specific story of Spider-Man, but they couldn't tell you who illustrated it. There's no chance to make a name for yourself on these things.
Hmm.
So
It's interesting you say that because a lot of people feel like a lot of people feel like you get a big, successful run on a Marvel series, and then you do like a creator owned series that now, because
Mm,
you have a name through Spider-Man, like, or not necessarily Spider-Man, but because you have a name through like a Marvel book or DC book, now
sure.
your creator owned series will be a huge hit because of that. Like, I think a lot of
I mean,
people have that
maybe
attitude.
maybe that is. Maybe that's I guess I can't say for sure. I guess maybe like my interpretation would be like you don't so rare that anybody gets a long run on a
Hmm,
thing, you know what I mean? It's just like
hmm.
you are here
It is
to
now, yeah.
fill in on this issue and thank you, here's your page rate. Good luck, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have I have a very limited perspective and limited experience that other people don't have, but this, that's just my perspective on it. I don't think
Yeah, I hear you.
it's not really the avenue that I've been interested in pursuing. Like I have a major interest in writing. Like I was a big writer in seventh and eighth grade. Like I want to make my own stuff. I want to like write and illustrate my own stories. So like that's sort of my end game, and it's not like
Yeah.
I like don't get me wrong, I like a lot of Marvel characters. I like a lot of DC characters. Like I would, if given the opportunity, work on them, but it's just not like a major motivator for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I want to work on Spider-Man. I want to work on these characters, but like really like more than that, like I want to create like Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah,
not
I know.
necessarily Spider-Man, but I want to create my own.
Something as impactful as Spider-Man.
Yes. Yes. Like I want to create my own thing that like will rise to that kind of like mythological level. Like I'm a big like mythology guy.
Mhm.
So like all of these things I kind of look at like, this is a non-controversial, non-original opinion, but like all these things I look at is like mythology, and to create your own mythology is like to me the dream. Like, so it is appealing to me to work on Spider-Man, and obviously like the page rate will probably be, and the benefits will probably be very good, but um you know this is a bad example now because J.K. Rowling is such a you know,
Yeah.
bad person. Allegedly. This whole podcast is allegedly, but to like you want to create Harry Potter. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be just like another person working on Harry Potter. Just in terms of like, just in terms of obviously the money that you're going to make. Like if you own the thing that you make, obviously you make much more money, but like, you also have
Potentially,
control. What's that?
potentially make more money.
Eventually, you're saying?
Potentially, like
Oh yeah,
you might
potentially. I
make
mean,
more
yeah,
money,
yeah,
you
of
might not.
course. Yeah, you might make nothing, but that's the case with anything you do, that there's, it might amount to nothing. But
Yeah.
you have control over it, like you own it, like I'm going to try to find this now, but Frank Miller, I'm going to try to find it. I'm going to fail, I'm sure. He had this great line. Here it is for Jack Kirby's birthday. No, am I wrong? Fuck. I'm looking at the wrong thing. God damn it. I'm sorry. I'm looking this up as I'm talking to you.
That's okay.
Son of a bitch. But here it is. This has got to be it. Um this was in 1994. Uh I think it was keynote speech by Frank Miller to Diamond Comics distributors in 1994. I want to say it was because of Kirby dying, you know. I
Mm.
think it was, yeah, it was because Kirby just died. And just trying to find this. I'm sorry. Everyone who paid money for this, I'm so sorry. I'm allegedly
You
sorry
can
for all
edit
of
it
this.
out. You can edit
I'm
it
not going to
out.
edit this. That would be a crime against comics for me to edit that.
Well, okay. You can always consider it.
Here we go. Uh, okay. He's talking about Sin City now, which you read, right? Like,
Yeah.
if it's Sin City, I write it. If it's Sin City, I draw it. That's a promise. No exceptions. No fill in
Mhm.
issues. That's a promise. It's a promise I can make only because I own Sin City, the creator bound to his creation, the creator in charge of his creation. It's better for me and it's better for you. Things are on their way to getting a whole lot better for both of us. But still, the old fearful mindset persists, the old self contempt. And never has it been more shamelessly displayed than in the resentment and hatred that's been aimed at Image Comics. And it goes on. I'm not sure if I should read more, but he's talking about how, like, in 1994, it was like mind boggling that all these top artists like Todd McFarlane,
Hmm.
uh, he says, consider this. Todd McFarlane and his pals turned their back on guaranteed wealth, guaranteed fame. They risked all of that on something that had never been tried before, an imprint that represented a group of artists rather than a bankroll. And it was a gamble. It never seems that way when a gamble works out. This is like what we were talking about, how, like,
Yeah.
it's not guaranteed you're going to make money. And he says, but I'm sure Todd and Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld each had long nights when they wondered if they'd made the biggest mistake of their lives. Now, each of those names I just said went on to be multi millionaires,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's wild that, how successful they were. But um, uh, I just want to find, like, here, look, he says, take a chance on the new comics. Look for the ones where the creator has every reason to stay and can't be fired because he owns it, because it is his and it is him. It's just crazy to read something like that from Frank Miller, like in 1994. And he kind of allegedly sold out, like, on that ideal a little bit, like, um, because he's kind of like, he's very old now and he kind of just like, he just does like Dark Knight Returns like forever. But like, it's hard to judge him because he's like, he's old. He's old. He's tired. He's old. He probably has health problems. Like, it's just like he doesn't have the drive that he had when he was however old he was in 1994, like, 40. You know.
Yeah. Sure.
But I agree with everything he was just saying there. It's just so crazy to think, like, uh this was in 1994 and they felt like the world is about to change, but like it didn't really. But
No,
like,
because Image is basically just
right,
what they it's the same thing.
Image became like, sort of, and again, Image, I want to work for you. I want to have a comic that you publish, so please don't be mad at me. Like, I love you. I'm not, I have no ill will towards Eric Stevenson. I love you, Eric. Please give me a chance. But yeah, I mean, Skybound is kind of like that. Like, that's like a little bit like work for hire, sort of like some of these things.
Yeah.
But anyways, man, am I keeping you too long? What do you think?
What do you think? I
It's
don't
like
know
two and
how
a half
much.
hours at this point.
Yeah, that's a long time.
I'll go
Um,
10 hours. I won't,
I
if I'm ready.
don't know. I don't know how much more I have to personally say. Like, do you have like questions or anything? Like, I can't. I'm
No,
not
I
sure
hear you. I
what
mean,
to
I
speak
guess
about.
I
You
guess just to wrap up, like, I would just say, like, going back to like that kid who's like hearing this and he's like, well, what do I do? Like, so you're saying like he should watch YouTube videos. He should like search out, like, like, what is the best thing to do, like, to even become an artist now? Like, there's no institution or anything. Like,
Well, I think hmm, to become an artist or to become a comic book artist.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
There's a
comic book artist, I
difference a
guess.
little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely.
Um, I don't know. I think like there's obviously things to like learn like that in like an institution can provide, but also like I think it's super valuable to you have to find your own perspective and like you there's so many resources available online to everybody that
Hmm.
you just have to seek out and like
Right. Like this didn't exist like when the
yeah,
Kubert school was created. Like this doesn't exist in
yeah,
like 1999.
yeah. I think like now there's a wealth of knowledge that's like pretty I mean, I guess I can't say for sure because I've never done the digging, but I think I'd be willing to bet that you can find quite a bit about the creation of comics. But
Oh, you
at the end
definitely
of the
can.
day, right, at the end of the day, you just have to make the stuff. You just have to keep
Yeah.
making pages. Like people say that all the time. And I remember somebody was asking me when I was at the school, like, how do you get good? And I was literally like, you just have to keep drawing. Like, I don't know what to say.
Hmm.
And he got mad. He was like, stop giving me the same cliche advice. And I was like, I literally don't know like what else to say. Like I am at the level where I'm at because I've drawn consistently for like, 8 years. You know what I mean? I've been
Yeah.
drawing for a long time. I haven't been drawing comics for a long time, but I've
And
been
I'm
drawing
sure
for a
like
long
you
time.
feel like, you probably had to draw like a lot of bad pages.
I've drawn a
Like,
lot of dog shit pages. I mean,
yeah.
there's some so I said earlier I worked on these two graphic novels that like I'm not proud of them. And like my experience with the company was not a very fond experience, but like I finished them. I mean, when I graduated in I think 2018, I think maybe I got on those books like that September if I graduated in June. And that
That
was
was pretty fast.
130 pretty fast. It was a 132-page graphic novel
Wow.
and a 68-page one, and I was juggling them at the same time. And it was
That's
horrible.
sort of like the best thing that could happen to you though, in terms of like, not in terms of like what they paid you or the amount of work, but just to do like 200 pages that even if they're going to be bad, like just to get it out, like that sharpens the blade,
Happy.
right? I mean,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was super happy at the time because I was like, whoa. I mean, the money wasn't in honestly, the money was like really low, like page rate
yeah,
wise,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I got paid on time and I got paid in like chunks that like could sustain me.
Right.
So like I but the problem was like your life is lots of other things, right? Like your life can't just be work. So
Right.
there was a lot of other stresses in my life and trying to juggle these two projects was really difficult for me and I think I burnt myself out like real quick, like not even a year after
Hmm.
I was graduated. But like those pages, like if I went through them all, I could probably find bits that I liked, but like definitely not my best work. But you learn like how to tell a story. You learn how to
Yeah.
like, like you learn shortcuts. And like
Hmm.
I think a lot of times like that's what comic art is. Like you have to sort of develop like shorthand for everything because
Hmm.
you can't I don't really believe in like super hyper detailed stuff is just like not for me.
Hmm.
And that's just like my personal like art style. And I like developing shorthand and trying to like have like the suggestion of things and like obviously there's a balance to strike between like it has to be readable enough so that people understand what you're saying. But I'm not one to
Hmm.
um like really needle on something or go over something like an excruciating detail. Like if it's there, it's good enough. Um, but I think at the end of the day, it's really is just like if I was going to give somebody advice on what to do to become a comic artist, I would say find some artists that you like, um, look at their work.
Copy everything they do. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, not copying it, but like look at what they're doing. Why do you like it? really try to analyze why you
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah.
and
Try to understand what works, like
yeah, what's
like
working and
dissect
what's
it.
not working. Yeah, and everybody's capable of this. It's like it seems like it's such a like foreign, like difficult thing to do, but it's really not. You just have to like take some time to like think and analyze these things.
It's
And
so
then like write
interesting to
your
hear you. It's so interesting to hear you talk about this because, like I said, like yesterday was like Jack Kirby's birthday or whatever,
mhm.
and his granddaughter was posting like all these Jack Kirby quotes, and he was saying stuff that sounds almost exactly like what you're saying. Like he said at one point, he was like, "I don't care about perfection, like
Yeah,
damn perfection, like just get it done, like perfection is never going to happen, like
yeah,
you're not going to paint the
right.
Sistine Chapel, like, but you will, unless someone, I think he said, you're not going to do the Sistine Chapel unless someone ties you to a thing and forces you to do it. So like the only thing
Yeah,
you could do is just like do pages. Like that's he said something like that. And he also said, like you're saying, like he said something to the effect of like anybody could do it. Like just learn
yeah.
how to do it. Like you don't need like magic. Like
I think
it's
that's what I
not
like about
supernatural.
yeah, I think that's what I like about comics is that it's a very accessible art form. Like
Again, this
you
is
have
like
a
what he was saying. He said
yeah,
almost exactly that.
like you have a fucking piece of fucking Xerox paper or a fucking piece of scrap paper and you have a fucking Bic pen, you can make a comic. Like when if you want to be a painter, like that shit's expensive. If you want to be like an
Mm.
architect, like the tools are expensive and or like a sculptor, like those things, if you don't have a lot of money, they lock you out. Whereas comics, like anyone can make it. You're not always going to make a beautiful piece of work, but it doesn't matter because comics, obviously it's a combination of words and
It's
pictures
not
and
like
like
a movie where it's like,
yeah,
okay,
anybody
now you
can come
need
up with
$10 million to make the movie. Like,
exactly. That was
yeah.
another thing. So like I was really interested and I was considering doing film for a while, but I was like, I what am I going to do? Like go to school, like you need to have a budget for these things. Whereas with comic books, it's like I can write any story I want, and the only limitations are my skill,
Hmm.
my technical skill, and anybody can grow that. It just takes fucking dedication and it takes time. Everybody
Hmm.
has time for the most part. I guess
Well,
I definitely probably
I think that's probably a good place to end, man. I mean, that's like an uplifting message.
okay, okay.
So what do we say here? What do they say at the end of podcasts? You could find Dylan at at Dillon Snook
At
on
Dillon Snook Art,
x.com. Is it Dillon Snook art or just
Twitter.
Dillon Snook?
I don't even remember now. I think it's Dylan's at Dillon Snook Art.
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
me check.
And
I'm
Dead by
on.
Daylight, is
Yeah.
it still, it's currently coming out now, or is it now in trade paperback?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm still in the process of doing the fourth issue. There's some, uh, there's been some delays, but it's still coming out. Issue three should be going to print soon. I have a book coming out with a secret, soon to be announced publisher that I'm very, very excited
Okay.
about. Um, I what else? What else? Yeah, that's really it. That's all I've got going on now.
So anyway, just before we leave, I'm just gonna go into our sponsor for this episode, the Cubert School. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. They're not sponsored.
they're
This
gonna kill
is
me.
no, yeah. They probably won't even hear this because this will all be like paywall,
No, because
but
I don't even exist to them.
yeah, no, I mean it's like this is gonna be paywall, and plus allegedly this is all satire. This is a
Honestly,
character that Dylan is playing.
yeah,
What were you gonna say?
I didn't act. I was just gonna say it doesn't fucking matter. I don't really care. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, I hear
it's
you.
if they can't handle critique, it's not my problem.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're a student who went there, like you're saying what your feelings about it were, like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's valuable information for anyone who's like, going to potentially, like you did, like take out student loans and go there and stuff.
Yeah,
So I think it's
for
good to get
sure.
out there.
Yeah, you
It's
should
not
get
like
all
you're
the
posting it on
perspectives.
their Yelp page.
Yeah, of course. I should do that now, though.
No, no, no.
No, no, okay.
Anyways, I'll let you go, man. It's thanks so much for
Okay.
doing this. Like this is really interesting,
Thank
I
you
think.
for having me. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you have more guests. I'm excited to check it all out.
I will, man.